Hello, neighbors, and welcome to the Circle City Cast, a podcast written and produced by the Indianapolis Mayor's Office. This is your host, Director of Community Outreach, Natalie Van Dongen. But this month, we have something special in store for our listeners. You'll be hearing from a special guest host, Chief Communications Officer Dawn Olsen from the Department of Business and Neighborhood Services. And today, Dawn will be sitting down with Indy Park's Director Brittany Crone to talk about our city's green spaces. So with that, I will go ahead and turn things over to Dawn.
Well, hello, Brittany.
Hi, Dawn.
How are you doing today?
I am very excited to talk parks with you, of all people. I know you have a lot of love for our city, so it's exciting to do this with a colleague who I think sees eye to eye with me on that.
Yes, absolutely. So, love parks, love our city. So, I'm excited to, dive in and ask you some questions here.
Wonderful.
So, before we get into parks specifically, I guess, why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners a little bit more? Tell us, a little bit about your history, previous jobs. What led you to your position as Director of Parks?
Yes, thank you so much for that question. I do think I have somewhat of a unorthodox journey to my current position, and I typically like to start during the pandemic because, as all things, I think our lives kind of hit the reset button for that period of time. But in 2020, I had a friend reach out who, we had formally I think volunteered together, and so we were acquaintances that way. Reached out to me on Facebook while my classes were on hiatus and everything, and I was needing some work, and that friend said, hey, we have this bilingual opportunity with a public health project. Would you be interested? And I have always had a nerdy love for all things, wellness and public health and biology and kind of everything under the sciences, right? So
yeah.
I heard public health and I was like, absolutely. And I learned a little bit more about the role. It ended up being a community-based community health worker with the Diabetes Impact Project, also known as DIPN. DIPN is a public health initiative through the Fairbanks School of Public Health. And while I was in that role, I absolutely fell in love with going door to door and checking on people and talking to them about their health and all the different preventative things we can do for our health, especially around diabetes prevention. And I got to know the mayor's neighborhood advocate of the area, who at that time was my friend Fabio Yattaco. Fabio left his role as an M&A, encouraged me to apply. I told him he was crazy, but I went for it anyway, and ended up having an interview with the director of community outreach at that time, and then with Mayor Joe. And from that experience, they thought I was a good fit to be a mayor's neighborhood advocate and an M&A, and I got the opportunity to start serving the very neighborhoods I was already working in.
I was going to say, you knew the community really well already.
Yes, yeah, and I got to know it even better through that role. So for about a year, I was serving in that role as a mayor's neighborhood advocate to the near west neighborhoods and our downtown Indy neighborhoods, and started really learning the intricacies of local government as we do. It wasn't something that I was abundantly familiar with before, but I really loved, again, kind of going back to my DIPN days, connecting residents with resources and operating as somewhat of a bridge to respond to those needs. So from that role, I was then brought back into the mayor's office by Deputy Mayor Judith Thomas. But at that time, she was the deputy mayor who hired me as an M&A and then brought me back in as her director of community outreach. So I got the incredible chance to lead the team of Mayor's Neighborhood Advocates, the very team that I used to be a part of, and also work with our amazing team in the Mayor's Action Center. And so I was in that role for about 2 years prior to accepting Mayor Joe's appointment as Indy Park's director. When the former director, Phyllis Boyd, told me that she was putting my name forward in the hat for the role of Indy Park's director, I was very much surprised. I was like, I'm not a what you call parks professional. There is an actual field of study dedicated to parks and recreation, and it is very serious. There's so much to know and to think about, and how we provide access to our public land and recreation opportunities safely. And I did not take that course of study. I had never worked in the parks department, which so I was incredibly humbled to receive her note. And I think she, through our conversations about public service and about wellness and mental health and public health, she and I would connect on a somewhat regular basis. Through that experience and through those conversations, I think she saw that I would continue to stay true to those values in how I advocate for our Indy Parks department and our public land as a city. So it's been an interesting road, and I could not imagine a more perfect one, a better one than what I've experienced so far.
Even though you're not, like a parks person, that you studied, I think all of those skills you had, with public health and your community engagement, that easily transferred to what you're doing now, because parks itself, we always joke about, go out and touch grass, it's
Yes.
its own form of, mental health and physical health and all of that as well. So
It
I think
really
it
is.
ties in perfectly, and it's just cool to see those themes, carry throughout your career.
Yes, Dawn, I
So-
appreciate you saying that too, because it is true. There's such a large body of research that backs up exactly what you said. Like going to put your toes in the grass, or just touching grass, or the bark of a tree, listening to bird sounds, it literally makes you live longer. That's what the
Yeah.
research says, the public health research. So yeah.
So now that we've kind of gone through your history and how you've worked your way, through different city departments, now that you're leading parks, what do you think is, your biggest challenge or some of the biggest challenges?
I would say the number one challenge for us as a parks department, and I guess for me as a new director coming into this role, is the sheer number of parks that we have, the size of our park system.
Because there's more than 200, right?
That's right. It's 218 going on 19 parks.
So just a few.
And each of those parks has an incredibly different geographical footprint. It has different amenities. Some of our parks have paved trails, some don't. Some have trees or playgrounds or shelters, and every park is a different combination of those amenities that we offer. So with those 218 parks, 28 of them have family centers or some type of center where we have field staff. We have 20 aquatic facilities, and all of that covers over 11,000 acres. So we're incredibly fortunate to have a staff in our department, and I never want to miss an opportunity to shout out our team at Indy Parks, because they manage our system so well and with so much passion and care, just a lot of intentionality. But the size and differences between our parks are constant challenges. Our department deals with so many essential needs of our neighbors, from access to that fresh air space, like we talked about, access to that activity space, but also essential food access programs and summer camps, swim lessons. And what we've seen, especially in the most recent years, is our parks family centers are safe spaces where kids, older kids after school can come and recreate or spend time together, or maybe pick up a new skill, or just connect with one another on the basketball court, or throwing a football, or through arts and crafts programming that we have. So we do cover that level of essential need throughout the county as well. So the positive to all of this is that our city and community sees parks as essential to quality of life. And with that, perhaps now we know, because of the research that is out there and because of the feedback we've gotten from the community, we know that parks and quality of life are more essential than ever before. So it's a lot of momentum to address and challenges to face, but we are making our way.
Yep. So you mentioned quality of life. So what are some of the goals that Parks has moving forward? There's been a lot of historic investments and upgrades across the entire park system, creating new parks. How do you hope to keep up that momentum?
It really comes down to three areas, Dawn, that I've started to identify, especially now that I'm getting closer to my first year in as Parks Director. But it comes down to our people, our processes, and our partnerships. And these are the three pillars that I talk a lot about with our team. But first of all, our momentum is only as good as our team in our department serving, so we aren't going to be able to serve our best if we are not rooted in first acknowledging with intentionality the hard work that our team is already doing, that our team at Indy Parks is doing day in and day out. So, acknowledging that first and finding ways to continue to uplift our culture and encourage one another and acknowledge that hard work. I think people, from my perspective, is also and maybe actually I would say as important. It is as important as the people inside our department. It's the people outside. It's our neighbors that we're serving. As I mentioned just a few minutes ago, so much of our services and our programming at our parks are meeting the needs or touching on the essential needs of our neighbors in Indianapolis. And so we are that place where families will come and collect their pantry items for the
meeting
week.
them where they are. Yeah,
absolutely. And not forcing them to come to one place, but being spread out across 28 family centers. And we are that center where people can come for an extremely affordable price and meet their health needs, whether that be physical health or mental health. And we know, from the investments that our administration has made up to this point, mental health is clearly a priority for us as a city. And I am so grateful to be a part of a team and a department that is facilitating that as well. We're not just facilitating public land, we're facilitating the third space where neighbors can come together and connect. So the people's one thing. Our processes are incredibly important as well to help us maintain momentum. We saw a historic investment from the Lilly Endowment, $80 million that was received under the former Director Boyd, and was a truly unprecedented historic amount. We do so many different things and are continuing to implement processes that allow us to serve the public well. So you'll kind of see this trend. Our processes are supporting the people, but our partnerships are also part of supporting, the people and the services that we provide. And partnerships, we really couldn't do anything without. I already mentioned our philanthropic partners, Lilly Endowment and so many others, the utility corporations here in the city and other corporate partners that come out and do days of service with us, or our fiscal fundraising support that we get through the Parks Alliance, the project support that we get from a variety of partners. We really couldn't do so much of what we see currently at our parks without those partners. And so I think that's how we continue the momentum, because we have a lot more work to do. I mean, we've seen so much already, I think, in the last 5 years, especially because of the $150 million from Circle City Forward, the $80 million from the Lilly Endowment. But this year alone, in 2026, 40 parks will be under construction at one time. I mean, it's just a very large number that our normal capital improvement budget wouldn't necessarily be able to get to. So we're able to make a lot more impact in a short amount of time because of our partners.
So there was something I actually wanted to mention to you. You said, your momentum is only as good as your team, and your team needs to feel inspired and uplifted. There has to be that really good inside culture and feeling. Anyway, I was up in the Parks Department earlier today, and I saw that sign that's right within the door that has all those positive statements that yourself and other staff members write about each other. So that made me very happy to see.
I'm so glad you saw that. Yeah, that's actually one of 4 signs. And we do 2 events a year that are all staff conferences. So that is one day out of the year that we dedicate to training as an entire team. And that is our full-time and part-time employees. So unfortunately, we don't have time to get to it for our seasonal employees, but for our about 160 person staff, we all get together in one location, a park location, of course, and we spend the day learning together. We have breakout sessions, but we also do this really fun activity that was started by our Chief Strategy Officer, Marguerite Webb, and it's called Park Stars. And so Park Stars are submitted, different staff members can nominate anyone throughout the department, and they fill out a form, and then the person who receives the most nominations gets a special acknowledgement, a special moment during our all staff conference. And this past year, or for our spring conference, I should say, we added an element to that. Throughout the day, anyone could write a note about someone that they believed is their own park star. And so I too love seeing that throughout the office. I had asked if we could hang those throughout our administrative offices. And unfortunately, the field teams out at our different family centers don't get to see those every day, but it's an excellent reminder for those of us in the admin building here in the city county building to see.
That's an idea I might just steal back to our department.
Please do. It is such a beautiful thing. I wish we could do it once a month.
So to hop back into it, earlier you were talking about some of the resources that are available at city parks. And I was wondering, what sort of resources or programs do you want residents to know more about? What are ones that maybe don't get as much attention as other ones?
That's a great question, because we really do have so many opportunities and programs. We always encourage anyone to visit parks.indy.gov. That's our website, and it is an excellent resource, a great place to start for everything our parks provide. But of course, nothing really replaces that in-person touch. So if I could ask my neighbors to do anything, it would be please go out and just Google, parks near me or parks and Indy Park Center near me, and go to your closest center and ask the front desk folks there, whether it's our recreation coordinator or maybe it's a facility attendant, or you might catch one of the park managers on staff that, at the desk at that moment, but finding out directly from them what's going on. All of our park centers also have a dedicated bulletin board or multiple places throughout our centers that have a variety of flyers posted up and information about upcoming programs, whether it be like, youth sewing, learning how to sew, or, an upcoming environmental educational hike, like we do over at Reverend Moselle Sanders Park and they do at Belmont Beach, or, our food pantries, like I mentioned. So that information is absolutely available on our website, parks.indy.gov. And then we also have the in-person element. Nothing is as good as that in-personal touch.
Do you also share all that information on social media?
We do. Our comms team, again, shout out the folks who work in this department inspire me daily. And that is absolutely true of our communications team. So our chief communications officer, our public information officers work very hard to try to keep up with the pace of programming on social media. But I'll be honest, Dawn, there is so much happening that we cannot share enough. So
I believe that, yes.
Always going with the website. I think starting at the website first is also helpful because neighbors can search for programming that they are interested in or resources that they need. Yeah.
That makes sense, yeah. You had said, I just want my neighbors to Google park near me. So the park near me personally is the Hot Shot Tot Lot in Fountain Square.
That's wonderful.
I just wanted to say that. So
that's excellent. Is that the little pocket park? Oh, yep. That's amazing. The former M&A for that area for Fountain Square, I believe, was very involved with the neighborhood groups there to get that set up. So that's exciting.
Yes. So love my Southeast neighborhood. But yeah, speaking of specific parks, what are some of your favorite ones, or what do you think? Well, let me rephrase that. There's 218. Which ones do you think are underrated? What are the hidden gems?
Interesting. Yes, I can't play favorites because they're all just so wonderful. I feel like, like a mother would say, you can't play favorites with your children.
Can't have a favorite student. even though you
That's right,
totally
that's
do.
right. And we do, as you mentioned, Dawn, we have so many parks that I'm still trying to find time to visit every single one myself. I thought I would accomplish that within my first year. I'm on my way. I think I've visited about 65% of our park system so far, but there's still a lot. But I think when we think about underrated parks, we have to consider our neighborhood parks. There are so many great neighborhood parks dotted throughout the city, and many that have recently received new playgrounds, just as recently as this past summer, and under construction right now. And these are really great assets for residents in the neighborhood to be able to walk to, which is an important metric that we consider. We think about walkability in Indianapolis as paved surfaces, but also walkability means how close is a park to any given residence. And these neighborhood parks are perfect for neighborhoods, but also nearby communities to visit as well. And some of our recently updated neighborhood parks include John Ed Park, which is over at 2000 East Roosevelt Avenue, Oscar Charleston Park at 2800 East 30th Street. I would consider probably underrated. And
See,
maybe
these
don't
are
get
both parks I have not heard of before, admittedly.
You would not be alone in that, but they're there and they're thriving. And I think the neighbors who live nearby are certainly aware of them. Washington Park is another underrated park. I don't know if it gets enough praise or enough attention that it should, because it's a little bit hidden in its location. But the park there, Washington Park, offers tons of great fitness programs. I mean, they even have a dedicated room for group fitness, group aerobics, with mirrors on the wall. That's really great. They host a lot of dance classes there, a newly renovated fitness room as well. We have plenty of art programs and tons of activities for all ages, truly. There's a new splash pad out there, several great walking trails, and a brand new playground as well. So it gives the feel that you are somehow outside of the city, but it's actually just down the street from where we are now. It's not too far away at all, right in the middle of the city. So the Washington Park has an interesting history as well. It used to be a zoo. Did you know that?
I did, actually. Yes.
Okay, we should take you to trivia. Love that. It's really cool to know that, because once you go into the space and see on the grounds, you can almost tell that some of those zoo elements still exist there today. And this park, as I may have mentioned already, saw major upgrades with that new playground and the new splash pad, and even a brand new shelter last year. So we're really excited for the community to experience that.
And all of that stuff just sort of feeds into a quality of life too, when you have access to those places, when there's things close by. Like I said, you know, if there's a park within walking distance, you can go there and be able to enjoy all those things. So
yeah, it's so true. That's actually a tenet of public health. And when we think of quality of life, there are social determinants of health. And one of those determinants is access to what we call social capital. Access to education is on the list. Access to education and healthcare and all of those things are also social determinants of health. But that social capital piece is what I kind of geek out about, because that is essentially what is represented in our parks. It's connection. That theme of having a third space that's not your home, that's not your backyard, it's not your apartment, it's not work, but it's rather a new space that is neutral and hopefully fun. If you're at an Indy Park, it's a third space that's going to be fun, and it provides the opportunity for neighbors to exist, to hear nature, to have those stress levels lower, to hear the laughter and joy of children on a playground, or riding a bike through one of our beautiful trails systems, and wind in their hair kind of thing. But it's that connection piece, right, of being with someone, a stranger even, and just seeing like there's another person here enjoying exactly what I'm enjoying, and it leads to something very healthy. And it again, I don't mean to speak about the research again, but it adds life to our neighbors. And it's just so exciting to see.
I would absolutely agree with that. So I personally don't own a car. I've been car free for 9 years. So I walk, bike, bus, Pacers bike share, all of that stuff. So you're absolutely right. Like, if I'm out on a run, I usually have headphones in, or sometimes if I'm on a bike, I'll have headphones in. But if I'm going through an area like that where there are a ton of people, I actually turn it off because I'd rather like hear part of like the part that's bigger than myself, I guess. I just feel like I'm
Yes.
more involved in that. Yeah.
That's right, and it does allow us to see that we're a part of something bigger. It's hard to see community sometimes. It's more a feeling or something that we try to measure in housing or in, how many dog walkers are on the sidewalk. But when you can see other people in a space with you, it does give you that sense of, oh, I'm a part of something bigger. And I would challenge all of us to ask the question, like, is that not the Indianapolis that we want to be a part of? An Indianapolis that is healthy and happy and whole, an Indianapolis who can go and experience these beautiful spaces and connect with each other, connect with nature, and learn something new along the way.
So even though you don't have a favorite park in which to touch grass, what is your favorite thing about parks in general, about Indy Parks?
You are putting me on the spot because, again, there's so much to love.
And it's a lot of pressure on you because this is also my last question.
This is the last question. Okay. I would say I'm going to give you 3 favorite things.
That's totally fine.
I like to do work in 3s. I'm a weirdo
3
that
is
way.
like an even number. You know what I mean?
That's right. It's a fair number. So I would say about Indy Parks specifically, I love our people. I could not say enough about our people and the direction we are going as a team of really strengthening our department. And I'm always advocating for the support that will allow us to grow and thrive as a department and support our neighbors in the ways that they deserve. So I certainly, that's like probably maybe my favorite thing about Indy Parks is actually the people that serve through our department. I also love how connected our city is through our trail system and our parks. So you can really ride or run, as you know, I'm sure, Dawn, with your experience, you can walk, run, or ride throughout the entire city using our trails. And there are so many parks along those trailways, or at least parks nearby enough that you wouldn't necessarily be in danger. But the new promenade at Riverside Park is just a dream come true. And now the bridge, the 30th Street Bridge, is open as well. So you can get across both sides of the river. And we have Riverside Park proper, if you will. I'm doing air quotes for our listeners. And then across the bridge on the other side, we have Adventure Park. We have Riverside Adventure Park. And the ride through there, the walk through there is stunning. I mean, the new playground, we have some admin offices over there as well at Riverside Adventure Park. But it is just stunning and expansive and beautiful. So I'll have to put that one, like, it's kind of a twofer there. The connectivity with our parks and trail systems throughout the city, but even more specifically, the trail system at Riverside Adventure Park and the connection there to Riverside proper. And finally, probably the last thing I'll leave us with is just the fact that we have a lot of power in our public spaces. The fact that we can protect these treasured, tried and true spaces that, I can sit under a tree that, same people a generation or 4 ago sat under right here in our very city. Like, even being an urban environment and a city itself, I can connect with our history here. And even, before this was a city, before it was a town, this was land of our indigenous ancestors, who walked here as well. And so I think it's that connectivity that nature and experiences in nature always bring me back to. Kind of what you said, Dawn, actually, to borrow what you said just a few minutes ago, in that we are part of something bigger. The cycles of the seasons, the cycles of life and death, death. So not to go too deep on us here, but like
you went deep on this.
I can't help it. I avoided it for as long as I could. I can't help it. I think it is a true demonstration, a living demonstration. Our Indy Parks are of that full circle, and the broader circle of history in our very own city. So really grateful to be a part of it, and always welcome the opportunity to talk about how much I love our parks.
It is very obvious how much you love parks and have a passion for it. So it has been an absolute delight to talk to you and ask all these questions. And I love being able to see, the theme of public health and community engagement throughout your career. And I want to thank you for, again, your devotion to parks, Indianapolis in general, and helping make the city a better place for all citizens.
Thank you so much, Dawn. And right back at you. Working with you is a true joy. I appreciate every day.
I'm blushing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have for this installment of the Circle City Cast. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to join us next month. In the meantime, you can keep in touch with the city by following us on Instagram, Facebook, and X at City of Indianapolis. Until next month, this is your host, Natalie Van Dongen, signing off. Have a great day, Indy.